Ramadan is here, and it's a month long celebration where we want to worship as much as possible, but also it means a lot more food is prepared. Now, ideally, we should eat less in Ramadan, but people end up eating more. And even if you don't do that, there are just more iftar gatherings or community meals, which means that we just end up making more food. And that's a good thing, though. It's always nice to cook for other people. When the community comes together to eat, it creates a stronger bond. But to make that process easier, it's a good idea to prepare things before Ramadan starts. So that way you can focus more on your ibadah or worship. You can spend more time for that. So I have a few tips. Again, they might be very common knowledge, but I thought no harm in sharing it. And so, yeah, to prepare the most, here are some food related advices that you can follow, that I follow, and that makes my life a lot easier during Ramadan. Some of them overlap, but I guess I'm going to still show them separately. So, the first one is to chop and freeze certain fruits and vegetables. Now, you cannot chop and freeze all fruits and vegetables because some of them just get really soggy, but strawberries are one of the fruits that you can chop and freeze, and when you take it out of the freezer you thaw it and it's fine. It's good for, like, because I'm going to be making some mixed fruit salads, so the strawberries would be thrown into that. So it's a good, it's just going to save me a lot of time and cleaning time. In the freezer it goes. Then, of course, I need to do bulk shopping for meat. So I went to the halal store, got this 15 kilo pack, and I also have more meat that I've gotten before, and I will be getting more meat as well. But the thing with meat is that I always try to portion it out according to the party. So, like, one day I would be cooking for around 10 people. So I'm gonna put these maybe 5 to 6 pieces in one of the bags. I'm gonna be cooking other things as well, so it's not just gonna be the chicken. So I think that would be enough. But for one day, then, where I have to cook for 30 people, I think I'm gonna be putting some 20 pieces of chicken. So I'll make two bags of 10 pieces and write on them that for the party of 30 on this particular date. The issue is, again, this is both the leg and the thigh. So when I'm gonna be actually cooking, I'm gonna chop it into 3 pieces. And while doing so, I also took off some chicken fat. And whenever you're working with raw chicken, please make sure you wash your hands thoroughly, otherwise, you're a friend of bacteria. So, here are the bags that have been portioned. There's some in the drawer, and there's some chicken breast as well, which, comes in a package that's just easy to manage, but it's slightly more expensive. So, the chicken fat that I took out, I'm going to use that to extract oil. So, Pakistani food uses a lot of oil, and even if I try not to use a lot of oil, I still have to use some of it. And oil gets very expensive. So, I'm gonna just throw this chicken fat into a non-stick pan and turn on the heat. And slowly, slowly, the fat will release the oil. Gotta keep stirring it, and remember, never use a steel spoon in a non-stick pan because it'll scratch and then your pan is ruined. So it takes a while. It's a slow process. So the thing is, if I'm done with it right now, I don't have to worry about doing it on the day of the event. That day I can just use the oil and just straight up go into cooking the main meal. Some of the fat is getting crispy, so I'm going to separate those. I'm going to take those out. So, all done. I got a glass jar. You can put it in a plastic one, but make sure the oil is completely cold. I'm going to use a funnel to put the oil in the... All done. Definitely gonna add more oil, or make more, extract more oil, and then put it in this jar. Now I have a bunch of spinach, and I'm gonna use this to make the masala soap. Masala just means like a mix of spices, blend of spices, and you know, curry base with the blend of spices. So I chopped the roots off and I'm washing the spinach. I found spinach at a good price, so I thought of using it. And once the spinach dries off, I'm gonna add it in the blender. So I had some leftover salsa. It's clean salsa. It's not like I double dipped into it or anything. I'm gonna use that instead of just wasting it. And I had some yogurt left over in the box that I'm gonna use. And then I will add the spinach. Oh, I'm also adding some black pepper just for flavor. How you mix and match the spices and different vegetables is entirely up to you and your palate and the prices of the vegetables. So once the spinach reduces, I'm adding a little more. So I'm gonna have to make batches, but this one is for like a larger party. And then I'm gonna have to do round two. So I had some leftover beetroot and this Turkish labneh. I'm gonna add these two in this round. And then slowly it gets chopped. So and this is by far the messiest activity. So I've been cleaning as I've been making it. But imagine if I did it on the day of the event, how much extra work would I be doing? So I use these plastic cups instead of Ziplocs, just so I can reuse the plastic cups, So I write, like, the reason I wrote soap is kind of, it's like in a shape. I'm gonna use a rubber band and then tie it. You can use Ziploc if you want to. I just don't like using Ziploc. I have used it when I can, if I get Ziploc for free, but I never buy Ziploc. And then all this is gonna go in the freezer. Then we have chickpeas, which, yes, we will freeze eventually, like the other things that I talked about. So a lot of food prepping is actually freezing. But with chickpeas, I soaked them for like a few hours. Then I'm boiling them right now. I added a little bit of baking soda. So it's again, it just takes a lot of time. Like this activity doesn't create a lot of mess, but it takes a lot of time. The soaking and then the boiling. So once they were boiled, I drained the chickpeas and I'm gonna let this cool off. Okay, so now that they are cooling off, I am gonna put it in a box and then just put it in the freezer. I'm gonna do something similar with this split pea lentils. I just have a lot of it, so I'm gonna soak it. This one I need to actually mash. I don't need to boil it, but I need to chop this and then again just put it in the freezer. And one of the worst things to chop is onion. It just makes me cry. It's a laborious process. Like, I lose so much energy. I just get like, so I don't want to be chopping onions on the day of actually making the curry. So in general, like, always chop onions for a good 10 days or 2 weeks, depending on the weather. If it's like super hot summer, 1 week is good enough. But I'm gonna be chopping maybe the first 10 days worth of onions. So I already have 2 boxes in the fridge, and this is 5 more onions that I chopped. Do not freeze them. I don't like freezing onions, but they last fine. Like, put them in an airtight container and put them in the fridge and they should be good for 10 days. In the fridge they go. Now these were some tips regarding food. Now I want to do some non-food or non-cooking tips as well, because those things will take up your energy as well, so you want to make sure you are done with those tasks. First is somewhat food related, in the sense that you need to look at your pot and pans cabinet and make sure everything is up to date, nothing is too damaged. If, like, for example, I need to use a bigger pan, or if I need to buy a pot or pan, so that is good, so that way I have an idea. Now this really big pan, we hardly use it for cooking at home, but I haven't used it in a while, which means it needs to be cleaned. So we're gonna wash it tomorrow because it's a bit dusty. But other than that, I made sure all the pots are like, clean. There isn't like, and it's enough. It's gonna be enough for what I want to do. Now this non-stick pan has a scratch on it, and when non-stick pans have scratches, you just want to throw them. I'm gonna put this as recycling. Can you see that little line? Yeah. And there was another one that also had scratches, so that also went in recycling. Speaking of recycling, that's also a good corner to declutter, because Ramadan means you're gonna be getting a lot of food containers, boxes, and those are gonna add to your recycling clutter. So you want to make sure on the first of Ramadan you don't have any recycling because you've gotten rid of everything beforehand. So like all these boxes and food containers. Plus, I had an electronic waste stash because I do a lot of dumpster diving. I find broken electronics. I usually collect them and then I put them out for recycling separately in a bag. So I did that while also organizing this area, so like putting the recycling bags properly. Again, the thing is, if you enter that area and you see the cluttered recycling area, it's just going to bring down your energy. Like you don't realize it, but that's what's going to happen. So it's best to get those things out of your way. And at least for me in Korea, recycling gets picked up twice a week, I think. So it's good. In some places it's not as convenient. But yeah, so coming back, this is the area, and I don't know if it looks nice aesthetically, but at least it's open and empty. So energy levels are not going to go down looking at it. And then another activity you want to do is inventory of your kitchen cabinets, also the fridge. I forgot to record for the fridge, but yes, go through your cabinets where you keep food items, and look at what you have. There's so many times people just forget they have certain food items, they buy more of it, or they don't realize they don't have something or enough of something, and on the day of cooking they're like, oh no, I don't have enough flour to make the bread. What do I do? Run to the store, and that just takes up a lot of time. So just to be prepared, like, you want to make a list of whatever's in your kitchen cabinets, in your fridge, in your shelves, and then plan what you want to cook accordingly. That way you save time and you don't waste food. Lastly is probably a bit weird, but I always get dressed for Eid before Ramadan starts. So after like a whole month of fasting, we have the festival of Eid al-Fitr, and I just never liked going for shopping in Ramadan. So I got my Eid dress beforehand. I've made sure I have the matching headscarf, I have the matching jewelry and every, thing for myself and for my family members. That way, I am not shopping during Ramadan and getting my energy levels down. Again, this may not work for everyone, but I like doing it beforehand. It's, again, up to individuals. I'm not forcing my views on anyone. I hope these video tips help you with prepping for Ramadan. And don't forget to subscribe and like. Is it windy outside? Take care. Ramadan Mubarak.